Welcome to Lessons from Leaders here on Cuppa TV. I'm Yasmin London, your host for this series. We're proud to partner with Nespresso Professional because they always support the conversations that truly matter. And we all know that the best chats, well, they happen over a quality cup of coffee. So grab your seat, grab a cuppa, and come and enjoy our chat. Well, welcome to Lessons from Leaders in partnership with, of course, Nespresso Professional and Cuppa TV. My name is Yasmin London. It's my absolute pleasure to be your host this morning. I'd love, though, to introduce our incredible panellists. First up, we've got Bryan Froud from JLL. Welcome, Bryan. You've got 20 years of experience across government and corporate real estate portfolios. You have a very future-focused view on workplace design, especially how space, service and experience can come together to create more human-centred environments. Having a little bit of a look and a stalk on LinkedIn of you, I really love some of the things that you've posted there. So we're going to talk about a couple of them today. We've got the wonderful Robyn Lindsey here as well, a multi-award-winning designer and 2024 Australian Design Institute Hall of Fame inductee. That's pretty impressive. Robyn, your work spans global brands and sectors with a strong focus on elegant, sustainable spaces and spaces that support connection, well-being and purpose as well. I think there's a common thread happening here. And last but certainly not least, we've got Kial, Managing Director of Synergy Realty, Wyndham, and one of Melbourne's youngest real estate principals. Very, very youthful look over there.
Morning, everyone. Thank you.
You were saying to me that when you were a swimmer, I think you were about 14, people thought that you were 8 years old. So you've got youth on your side, don't you? You bring a grounded, practical perspective from years in sales and property management, and you're known for your integrity, your customer service and deep knowledge of Melbourne's West. So could we please give them a round of applause and welcome us in. So today is all about elevating the customer and the client experience and going beyond delivering a simple service into creating something that is really genuinely memorable and miraculous. And I think, I said to you, the QT has done a really great job of that in my room anyway. I've really enjoyed staying here. Now, clients, of course, expect something far more seamless these days. They want something that's considered. They want human connection and touch points at every moment, and they really want to feel seen. So we've got to make sure that we're elevating in many ways. The organisations that get this right, I think they're the ones that are really going to win loyalty, but of course raise the bar for everyone else. So I'll stop talking, and I think we've got to get into it all here. So I wanted to start around defining what excellence actually is and what good looks like across different industries. And I wanted to share with a statistic that I read recently. So PricewaterhouseCoopers said that 86% of buyers will pay more for a great customer experience, yet only 1% feel companies actually consistently deliver it. 1% is tiny. So Robyn, I want to start with you, and I might get you all to answer this question. What does customer experience look like in your world, and what does good actually look like in your industry?
Thanks, Yasmin. I learned very early on in my career that it is never what it looks like or seems to be or what you can expect it to be. And customer experience is always, to me, around like an unpeeling of the onion. What looks to be the success and the expectations of a client isn't always what it really needs to be. So the experience for customers and clients, to me, is all about what's happening underneath what's obvious when you're working with them. And so unpacking and finding the deep empathetic self within you and unveiling that within your client, to me, is where you find the richness and the enablement of great experience. And to use an example, one of my first experiences when I realised this was my mission in life was one of my first clients was a couple who were actually married. They were my clients, and there was a lot of tension between them during the project. And after the project was completed, a package arrived on my doorstep, and it was a gift from them. And it wasn't the gift that mattered, but it was the message. And I cried when I read it. It said, "You saved our marriage."
Wow.
And it was at that moment I realised that I didn't know at the time, but the experience that I was having with them and enabling them was actually facilitating a relationship between two people. And the project itself was just the means to doing that. So from then on, I realised that I wasn't just a designer and that I was a psychologist and a whole lot of other things. And it changed my trajectory to this day in understanding the experiences about what happens behind what's obvious.
Yeah, I really love that. It sounds like you were the synthesizer in those moments, for sure.
Correct.
Bryan, what about you? What does good look like in your industry?
So as a consultant, we'll always sort of start off trying to understand what does success or what does excellence look like. But even then, the response that we get may not be the actual insight or answer that's the most valuable. So it's usually by asking better questions, getting them to sort of pause. That's when we actually start to unlock where the value is. And I think, from some of our recent experience research, it's actually not, the Gen Zs, though they get a lot of airtime and airplay about their expectations. It's mid-year sort of career professionals, so 35 to 45. They actually have the highest expectations around personalisation, flexibility, and they do care about sustainability, but they don't really care so much from things that they can't see and touch. So solar panels or carbon commitments in an annual report. It's actually the green spaces and spaces that they can immerse themselves and see and feel. But from an experience front, I think it's really understanding what your employees value. And we run lots of workshops trying to understand what was a memorable experience. And often it's, I forgot my bag in a taxi and they came back and bought it no charge, or the receptionist was able to sort of help me out with this really stressful day. For myself, even though it sounds like little things that you do in a space around activations, I actually met my wife from a landlord-based building activation. So the landlord was, giving away $1 roses or something like that on Valentine's Day. I, thought it was worth it. I paid $1. Gave.
I mean, $1 not too bad these days, is it?
My wife hates it when I say how much they were actually. And then gave a rose to the girl at the cafe that I was at 3 times a week, and they're so much I'm actually in the broadsheet photos. So next day she slipped her number underneath my coffee, and now we're married, 2 kids, a dog, happy family.
I'm feeling like there's a bit of a theme happening with these two comments. There's been marriage saved and marriage made. Amazing.
But I suppose, even though they seem like little things, they can lead to very memorable and big things at an individual and human levels.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds again like asking the right questions, as you say, and getting to know what the real motivators are for different types of people. Kyle, what about you? What does good look like in your industry?
Well, I think in real estate, our industry is very results driven. And so often we think about a good customer experience means a good result. Like if I can sell your house for a high price, or if I can find you a tenant really quickly, I've delivered a good customer experience. And oftentimes people, when they're dealing with real estate agents, they think it's quite transactional, and they come away from the experience kind of with a bad taste in their mouth. Like, this person didn't really care about me. They didn't have strong empathy towards me. And there's not usually that trust. There's trust there. And I think if you look at the most trusted professions in Australia, real estate agents are usually one of the bottom. I think it's politician, then real estate agents. But I mean,
Bunnings is at the top, I heard.
Are they really?
Bunnings is the #1 most trusted brand in Australia, but real estate not so much.
Yeah, well, it's usually politicians, real estate agents, but after last week, that might have swapped around. But for me, what good looks like in customer experience is if the person can come away from dealing with me and our service, thinking that, hey, this person actually had empathy towards me, this person actually cared about me, and this person was someone who was in my corner, not just someone who was there for a transaction. So that's what good experience looks like for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've really got to think about that. Interestingly, that report that I mentioned earlier from PwC, they've actually said that 32% of customers will walk away from a brand they love after just one bad experience. So we've really got to avoid that. Kyle, I want to go back to you. So operating at the front line of this sort of very competitive market, and real estate certainly is that. What are the non-negotiables for clients today that perhaps weren't even on the radar for them a few years ago?
Yeah, I think something you mentioned in your intro is you mentioned the word seamless. And I think our experience today has to be easy and accessible and frictionless. Or else people will often choose the option that's easiest for them or buy the product that's easiest for them than the best product or the cheapest product.
Yeah.
And I've been playing this new sport called paddle. I'm not sure if anyone's played this sport before.
Brene Brown make that famous. I know pickleball.
That might be
What's
pickleball.
the difference? What's paddle?
Paddle is sort of like tennis and squash combined. So there's like the walls and you can hit the ball off the back wall and it stays in play. And I've been playing it a lot. There's courts in Richmond, there's courts in Docklands. And so I've been absolutely obsessed with this sport. It's so addicting. And it's really easy to play, like easy to book. There's an application that you can use to book multiple courts and join games, and you get a ranking system. If you win games, your ranking goes up. If you lose games, your ranking goes down. And they opened up a new court, like just close to where I live. Beautiful indoor court, so it's great for Melbourne and the weather. And it's got a cafe, gym, sauna, pool. Like it's an amazing product. But when they opened up the courts, they used like a different booking system. This different app that we all had to download, and we couldn't work out how to book games. And the experience, even though the product was great, the experience in using and trying to book it created a lot of friction. And so when I think about something that's really important is like, I want to make my business the easiest option for someone to use. If someone's picking between different real estate agents, I want them to think going with Kial is going to be the easiest option.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, we live incredibly busy lives now, and that is going to be one of the expectations that I think every business is going to have to face, is how do we become more efficient, but make it feel effortless as well in many ways. Okay, let's talk about the power of the environment, the design, space and perception. Robyn, I want to go to you first with this one. Now, from a design leadership perspective, how are client expectations evolving in this space when it comes to, I guess, their brand expression or their experience? I spoke about how much I've enjoyed QT today. And I think because I really like the little details. I was mentioning to you, in my room, there's a really great book that's got sort of definitions of mythical, magical spells. And there's this really great, I even pay attention to the font, but on my television, they've used a really interesting font to welcome me to the hotel. So what are the expectations? What are the changes? What's happening now in terms of design and expectation?
One of my favourite subjects is, in my view, if anyone that uses and goes into any environment that I ever design, if they leave feeling better off than when they arrived, then the environment has succeeded. And the environment necessarily hasn't been the thing that might have made that experience extraordinary. It's what it enabled to happen. So if we take workplaces for an example, they are the enabler of great cultures. They enable activity, they incite behaviour, they activate minds, they do all sorts of things to help left and right brain, different people. They allow different characters and personalities hopefully to thrive within them. And in my mind, when I design right from the beginning right through to the end of a project, I always have in the absolute, as part of the vision, is that people will feel better off and be better off. So that means now, in terms of experience, it's not just, as we're all experiencing here, we've got some biophilic principles happening in here, some diffused light, some greenery, we've got open air, access to natural daylight and the likes. It's more than that. It's the enablement and the energy that actually helps people to feel and to experience, and therefore go out of their comfort zones to be more creative, have more engaged and energetic conversations, to build more relationships, to think of better ideas, all sorts of things. And I think you can probably all imagine experiences and environments where you've felt squashed, or you felt quiet, or you felt imposed upon rather than excited or enlivened by something. So to me, that's something that's increasingly more important and much more a significant drivers of design of space.
I think it's also important to note like the amenity of wider spaces as well, rather than just the design of the environment you're in. We're at 101 Collins and they've got amazing end of trip facilities, towel service, Dyson hair dryers, all that sort of stuff. Another stat for you is...
I also used one of those Dyson hair dryers this morning, and hallelujah, for a gal with short hair that needs their hair dryer in the morning, amazing. So yes.
Well, another stat for you is buildings with towel service, on average 3.5 towels are used by a single person.
Really?
Yep.
Is that a lot? Does that surprise people here?
Yes.
3.5 towels?
Yes.
When it's there and you don't have to wash it, maybe you take a few more liberties. But
Yeah.
I know people that are have moved on from JLL or moved out of the 101 office, and the end of trip facilities is actually one of the things they miss most.
Yeah.
So whilst they enjoy the working environment, that sort of stuff, all those amenities and things that can enhance an experience from sort of street to seat as well play a really important part.
Can we talk about the LinkedIn post of yours that I love? We don't have to mention who the cafe was, but can you share with the audience a bit about what that post was about, what the photo was, and why it matters?
Yeah, I'm sure Robyn, you're probably familiar with sort of defensive or hostile architecture. Usually, it's reserved for trying to prevent rough sleepers from maybe impacting the visuals of a shop front or something like that.
Yeah.
I found this picture, and it was actually of a cafe, and it's almost like hostile hospitality. So they've used hostile design principles to discourage lingering, to the point where you could barely fit 2 coffee cups on a single table. And there was a lot of interesting comments. Some were sort of saying maybe that's great for human connection because people aren't separated by laptops and all that sort of stuff. But in my mind, they've kind of done it to stop people working from there.
Yeah.
But they probably could have done it in a way that maybe was better designed to help with flow and queuing and time of transactions, but still have that space or a third space for people that want to use the cafe to work from there in a way that's sort of nice and pleasant.
Yeah, well, I think in the end, when we're suffering from a loneliness epidemic globally across the world, and I had to do a presentation the other day and looked at the statistics of that, 1 in 6 adults across the world at the moment are experiencing loneliness. That's according to the World Health Organization. Gallup has released data that said that 23% of Australian adults were lonely for a significant part of the day yesterday. So in these sorts of situations, we've got to think about the outcomes there. And again, of course, the impact on customer brand. Another rant that I had the other day was coat hangers in hotels that are stuck on. In the end, what does that tell the client? What does that tell the customer? They think you're a thief and you're going to steal their coat hangers. Like, come on. We've got to think more about what we want to be seen as in terms of a brand. Let's have a look now at, maintaining consistency, because this is always the challenge. We might have a great idea or we might want to implement that, but it is difficult to keep it going. Bryan, you've led really complex transformation initiatives. Are you able to share an example where a relatively small or subtle shift really materially elevated that client experience or sort of strengthened your connection?
Yeah, sure. So I think most of the time change is best done when it's iterative and small. And then even more, you get better buying when it's actually done through a co-design lens, so actually actively involving people in that change. I mentioned an activation before, but from an employee experience and benefits perspective, having fruit at your office and other sort of amenity, it becomes the expectation after about sort of 6 to 8 weeks or so. And so there is the need to constantly rotate and activate through different iterations, and more than just the seasonal, it's Halloween, or now it's,
Sort of
spring cherry blossom.
factor.
Yeah. But you do that the best by actually engaging in dialogue with your employees and trying to, I suppose, curate via, cohort demographics and actually, design meaningful change and experience for the people that are going to be experiencing it, rather than sort of just, relying on AI. I think a lot of talk's been about AI, but I think it's kind of leading to a blandness and vanillification. I was seeing someone speak to it before, because it's trained on large data sets. It's always backward looking and tries to sort of, I know we call it AI slop. In other words, vanillification is maybe a little bit simpler. but it's not as forward-looking or as creative as we sort of think it is. And I think if we rely on it too much, we're really going to miss out on those really meaningful experiences.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I love the word vanillification because that's exactly what it is. So we might get an output from AI and think it's amazing and we're the only people reading it, but then, you know, thousands or millions of other people are getting that exact same response, and then it just becomes generic, doesn't it? It's not exciting anymore. Kial, I want to go to you. Now, McKinsey have said that 65% of customers say consistency across all touch points matters more than the quality of any single interaction. I think that really connects to your seamlessness ethos as well. Now, consistency at scale is a challenge for many, many organisations. How do you ensure your team consistently delivers a high quality, intentional experience across all interactions?
Yeah, sure. Like this was a challenge for us, especially as the business grew, the touch points increased. So when we started, people would have just the one touch point with us. They'd deal with us as, you know, we're selling their house. And now as the business grew, we became not just the person selling the house, but we became the manager of their property. And so the experience and the touch points increased, so that while they might have had a great experience with us on this side of the business, when it came to another department or other people that we had managing our clients' properties, then the service level dropped. And the only way to make sure that doesn't happen is by having strong culture. And so it was just something that us in the leadership became really focused on. Okay, what are our values? And really trying to, first of all, as a leader, with your values and your culture, it starts with you. And you have to be the one to set that, because your staff and your people in your team, they're watching you more than listening to what you say. They're going to follow what you do. If you're not delivering a great customer experience yourself, you can't expect them to on that end. And so being really focused and obsessed with the culture of your company, I think that's the way you can sort of maintain the consistency across all the touch points. And I think in businesses in general, our clients have seen our business in more ways than ever now. Like, they see us on our websites, they see us in the store, they're seeing us in social media. And so being consistent in all those levels is going to be more and more important.
Is it really important to be consistent in terms of your tone, your brand messaging? What sort of key areas are the most important areas to focus on?
I mean, everything. Everything. And I think with your team, the way you sort of build that culture is by, if someone's exhibiting it, calling it out, and saying, hey, I saw how you did this. I saw how you were proactive instead of reactive. Like, that's one of the things we talk about in our company. With our clients, we want to anticipate the needs before reacting to a problem. And so when one of our staff members do that, we call it out. And then when it's not happening, we're really quick to, you know, sit down with them and offer advice and correct that.
Well, I guess that's the sort of anticipatory process is what we've all got to be looking for. That's the surprise and delight that we get when it comes to the customers that we deal with, and then calling it out, making it evident that this is the standard that we expect, and also celebrate when people do a really great job. Robyn, a lot of organisations invest heavily in experience design. How do you ensure alignment between what's intended at a strategic level and what clients actually experience in the day-to-day?
I think this goes back to a point Bryan just made. It's about involving everyone, or as many people as possible, in the entire process. And one of the best benchmarks that I find is at the end of a project, when you talk to a team or you hear a team talking about the experience that they've been through over a project developing and being implemented, the best thing is when you hear them saying or talking about anecdotes along the journey that they actually have owned some of the ideas. I had a great experience when a client of mine was talking to an international architect of some renown, and my client was explaining to this architect what we'd done on this project. And in that conversation, so many of those ideas he and his team claimed were their ideas. And they didn't necessarily come out of their mouths and out of their minds at the time, but they had so much ownership over it because of the involvement in the process that they owned it. I came out of that like the happiest I have ever been on a project, because no one was saying, oh, she did this, or it was her idea, or she initiated this. The strategy was just a pathway, and the whole process was a flexible process, if you like, where I made sure that everybody could be involved in that. And you know, one of the best things is when you start a project and people go, oh, I can't be part of this team because I'm not creative. I don't know what I'm going to do on this project. And they're the ones that will probably have like the best ideas. They're often the ones that will create and have aha moments where because they're out of their comfort zone and they're in a facilitated environment of safety. I always make sure that they feel safe and heard, that there's an equitability across all project teams. And then they're the ones that will come up with the genius ideas. I've got a number. Oh, can I just get this one?
Please go for it.
This is one of my favourites. So once I facilitated a workshop with a very large international retail organisation. It was to find some new ways to get new products into the market. And they were at a pretty dark point in their organisations and in their organisation's history, and they needed to make change. So we got the workshop, about 30, 40 people came into that room, and the CEO kind of came in, took control of the session, and he just said something to one of his teams, or will you make notes, during this for me? And I saw that as an opportunity because suddenly there was an equitability in the room. I knew that we wouldn't have a really creative, open and energetic workshop. So I started off by responding and saying one of the rules of this is that everyone working on this strategy and on this project is equal. I want everyone to get rid of the names of your roles and that sort of stuff. And I just want you all to talk to each other with your Christian names. The best idea for a whole day's workshop came from the person who the CEO had asked to just take notes for me. And that person was nearly in tears while she was trying to get an idea across in the workshop. And because of that equality and equitising the environment at that time, she had the courage to come out with an idea. Now that idea was taken on and created millions and millions of dollars worth of revenue for the organisation. So I just wanted to use that as an example, that the experience for change and the experience for new ideas for organisations and environments, however it comes out, is as much about the process and the enablement of people to be their best, while it's happening.
I think just to build on Robyn's point, it really emphasises the importance of having different channels to solicit and gather feedback and involve with co-design. Surveys are great and easy, and you can populate them when you've got time, but it doesn't allow you to ask follow-up questions, which is where workshops really become valuable. Yeah. But I think some of the most rewarding sort of feedback I had from one of my workshops was actually a virtual whiteboard session, which I know not everyone's a fan of, particularly two-finger typing CEOs. But this person, towards the end of the session, he sort of, dropped in a little feedback thing saying, look, I'm on the spectrum. Contributing in this way has allowed me to do so in a way that I've sort of felt safe. I felt heard. I've contributed to the project. And this has been, by far the most sort of easiest way I've been able to contribute to something that's going to impact, the overall design for the next sort of 10 to 15 years to come. So
I absolutely love that because it just really speaks to the importance of creating safe psychosocial environments, being aware of neurodiversity. Sometimes, the word diversity in our day and age is a bit of a dirty word. Well, I'm going to use it because it's really important that we all look at the different perspectives that can bring us to situations like this, right? Really important. Yeah. I think there'll be people in the audience, though, that perhaps might think, how can I involve everybody along the process? So you talk about workshops, virtual options. Are there any other things that you can think of off the top of your head, and this is for everybody, that's really worked that perhaps everybody in the room could take away into their businesses, just small steps where they could, get exposed to different people and different ideas in big, large teams?
one thing that I find really helpful is, and this is about empathy, but it's about understanding clients and customers through really being able to put yourself in their shoes. And some of the most impactful ideas that I've witnessed have been as a result of actually, so in the case of a retailer, working in a retail shop for a day. I had trainee written on my little badge.
There was a TV show like that, wasn't it? Like
Undercover
Boss.
Oh yeah, it was
Excellent.
like that.
I love it, Robyn.
But anyway, and it was in watching so I was the trainee and being with the customers and just watching their reactions and how they were behaving and changing in the whole experience led me to a massive aha moment that changed the whole trajectory of the project. Was just because it was about them looking really uncomfortable at a point through the transaction, because it had been transactional. And I thought, where's that coming from and why has their behaviour changed? And it was because the store manager had actually left them and gone out the back to get a product and had left them. And so I talked to the customer and they thought, oh, are they out there, like writing email messages or taking a phone call? They seem to be a long time. And so anyway, I won't go into the detail, but we unpacked the whole project around that and solved that problem. But
it sounds like the gift of over communicating, that you can always share with people. I'm going out the back to collect something for you. I'll be X amount of times, giving people that knowledge and information. Right.
I think ethnographic design.
Can you explain what that is? I don't know what that is.
It's kind of like taking a anthropologist or sort of biologist sort of a view and observing. And it's really simple to do. Everyone here can do it, and you can do it in your current workplaces, receptions, meeting rooms, client sites. But you just sort of sit there, and it's find it online. There's a simple ethnographic observation canvas that gives you a whole list of questions and prompts, and makes you sort of think and be very sort of self-aware around how you sort of feel from thermal comfort. What are the sounds? What do the light look like? And we did this for a call center environment, which is obviously a little bit more unique, much more dense, louder, and we're able to sort of observe, whilst they were sort of looking to push to having more people work from home from a call center environment, the outcomes in coaching they got from complex cases was a lot easier in person. But it's a really simple tool that anyone can do, regardless of your role or where you work, and can uncover those insights from an experience perspective.
Fantastic. Sounds very personalised to your situation as well. Interesting. Okay, let's look forward to what's coming next, what the trends should be, what people should be focusing on. Kial, for leaders looking to create an immediate impact in their businesses from today, what would you advise they focus on to elevate their clients or customer experience?
Yeah, I think what's going to be a big focus for us and is probably going to be customization, how we can customize the experience for the individual. I think that's going to be more important now than ever. I think a great example of a big business that did this at scale was Spotify.
So good.
And I don't know, probably everyone's used Spotify before, but they came up with these wrapped campaigns, which tells you as a client, gives you a customized experience based on your listening preferences throughout the year. And I saw a lot of business owners sort of see this and probably interpret it wrong. And they thought, oh, I might just make a wrapped video about my business. And so I saw real estate agents doing, this is my 2025 wrapped video, where they missed the point. Like, this was a great way for Spotify to engage with their customer and give them a personalized experience, something unique to them. We like hearing stories about ourselves. And so if you as a business can tell a story that's personal about your client, it's going to connect really well and be really powerful. And one of the things that we tried to do with our business, when you buy a house, you get those settlement gifts, you get those little box, and usually it's really generic. It's like a bottle of wine and maybe some cookies and things like that. Yeah, something like that with our name on it, so you're reminded about how well we did for you. But what we try and do is in every one of those settlement gifts, we try and put something personal in that. So if you mentioned you're a Bombers fan, or give you tickets to the footy, or if you like golfing, we get you some golf voucher, something like that. And so to elevate the client experience, I think listening to your clients, trying to gather as much data as you can as possible in order to tailor make your solution to the individual. I think that's the one way you can elevate it. Yeah.
I love that. What I'm hearing from you is that, you know, a lot of brands will try to gift and talk about themselves, but they're totally missing the points
Sure.
about the customer.
100%.
Spotify Wrapped is about you and your listening experience. They don't,
Yep.
you know, it's nothing about them. So really keeping the customer at the center of what you're doing. Robyn, what would your advice be? What do you think, you know, businesses should be doing to elevate in the next client experience?
Following on from Kyle's, absolutely personalisation. But getting to the personalisation, you have to get to the right personalisation.
Yeah.
So to me, curiosity is the biggest takeout. Being curious, never assuming in your customers or your clients that you understand or you know what their needs are. It's about having people on your team who are capable of unpacking and undoing what seems to be obvious, because you'll never get to a sustainable solution without that. And I think that's probably the key one. And a lot of people are afraid of that. I've noticed that with people on my team or in other teams that I've worked with, that they are afraid or not able to do that. And I think as a leader, you need to enable your team to be able to have a kind of a safety net, if you like, but be able to have conversations that sometimes can seem to be uncomfortable with clients and to seek really what their needs are. So I think that's really the main thing for me.
Yeah, curiosity, really.
Curiosity and bravery. Can I just say one thing? Audacity. You know, like, be audacious. And I reckon, you know, the best breakthroughs come through, the best experiences come through about people who have the guts to say stuff and do things in a safe environment with your customer or with your client. You know, have them feel safe with you, but be audacious and give stuff a go, because we're not going to progress. We're not going to get breakthrough. You know, iterative movement and change isn't enough now. It's not enough. We have to be brave and absolutely use our creative genius that we all have to actually make a difference. And one more thing, sorry, I nearly forgot this, regeneration. And I don't mean regeneration to go back to old times. I mean about regeneration of truth and what we all need as humans moving forward to be able to live a good life. And that's what I mean about design for better. Having people feeling better in any environment that you provide them. Your staff, your customers, their customers. Understand who your customers' customers are, because that's what they should be caring about. That's what you're designing for. You're not designing just for your customer.
Yeah. Bryan, what do you think?
I might share an audacious idea.
Yeah, I love
that. For the call center environment as well, they did want it to be a destination that wasn't just the call center. So we actually pitched to them that they design their new office with an escape room in it, because it would facilitate team building amongst the contact center workers, as well as make it more of a destination from people from head office to go through and have those experiences. Now, the client didn't really gel to that idea, but you know, it's still worthwhile to pitch those ideas out there, and on the odd chance they do win. So that was our audacious one.
I love that. But you know, I would have taken that further, because I would have been curious enough to find out what their fear was.
Yeah.
You know, like, what are they afraid of in actually undertaking that? And when you start to unpack that, find out why are they scared? You know, it'll be to do with some metric that they're afraid of in their next appraisal or something.
But I suppose, like, future looking, AI is replacing a lot of humans. AI actually took my wife's career that she graduated from uni with in graphic design.
Yeah.
She's retrained now, so she's fine. But I think a lot of people are looking to replace human elements with AI, but they should really be looking to augment it.
Yeah.
You build trust, 3 to 4 times faster if you're in person. I think I even read a study that you build trust faster over a warm cup of coffee than a cold glass of water. So you can take that.
I didn't even ask you to do that. Well done, Bryan.
But yeah, look, I think, we're actually working with some clients that are trying to do remote management of concierge. We've all had that experience with a kiosk that's about there. So you take your photo, it's 5 chins like myself. It's not a very great or personal experience.
Yeah.
Some people are piloting concierge portals. So it's a real live person that can sort of dial into Brisbane and handle inquiry and then go to Adelaide. And so there still is a human connection there, but it's not the same. And then there's even also sort of full wall meeting rooms, so you can actually, with less latency, to have more of an equitable experience, but also so you can read the body language of people in one room to another as well.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's finding ways that technology can support us in being more human rather than replacing the really human important parts.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
I really love that. I mean, in the end, when we think about AI taking our jobs a lot of the time, it's going to take our jobs if we atrophy our human value. And our human value is our ability to be creative, it's to be curious, to be audacious, to pay attention to our instincts. These are the unique values that we have as human beings. So let's practice those skills. I think it's the World Economic Forum calls them brain capital, right? These are the skills that are what we need in the future, and the world will adapt to make sure that they're valued as long as we start to practice them and we don't lose them. Okay, a couple more questions. I think we've got a couple more minutes. We've talked about being curious, being brave, being audacious, seamless and personalised experiences. How do we prepare our teams for these sorts of transitions? Like if these are our goals over the next 12 to 18 months, how do we bring our teams along with this? What are the steps that we take? Bryan, I'm going to start with you here. What do you think?
It's a journey. Like I've had to run a few AI training sessions, and the ones that don't land is here's a whole bunch of prompts, go ahead and experiment it.
Yeah.
When I was running those sessions, I was tailoring it to the particular teams and individuals that I was doing it with. And even then, AI is like a maturity curve. We start off using it like Google, asking it a question and chatting to it line by line. Then we get a little bit better about it, using it to create content. But the more mature you get, the less you rely on it to create content, but you use it to basically evaluate and improve and do iterative improvement on your own content to make it better rather than relying on it and replacing it. So I think it's all about tailoring it, noting that it's a journey, not just you host this, everything's going to change.
Yeah.
It's going to take time.
Yeah, I love that. Robyn, what about you? How do we prepare our teams for these skills that we've talked about that should be the steps that businesses are taking?
Yeah, I'm not so afraid of AI because I have faith in humanity needing to be human. And I believe that from a leadership perspective, I take a lot from probably the greatest leader I ever worked with. And he said to his project team, all of us, he said, I've got one job to do on this project. It was a really, really significant, market-changing project we were about to work on. He said, I've got one job, and that is I'm your protector. I'm going to protect you from any impediments that you have on being great, from you being audacious. We're a brave team and we're going to do some really amazing things. We had to. He said, I'm going to stop that. And you know what he did? He followed through. I never once in 3 years on this project, neither me or any of the team that were brought together were handpicked for this team. No one, I never saw anyone being afraid or being scared of implementing new ideas, and it was all because of the leadership. Now, that's the way I see leadership going forward, is we've got a minefield of impediments and things that are come, whether it's people afraid of AI or environment or health or whatever it is. As our job as from a leadership perspective is to bring the calm and bring the focus and bring the we can do this a kind of approach to all of the experiences that our team have, and also to understand what the experiences are that everybody expects and then give more, because it's the little moments that you remember, you know, when you worked on projects or you've helped to invent something that's new or get it out to market. It's really the little moments along the way that you remember and that actually start to craft the new you or the evolving you as we progress. That's
Yeah.
what progress is to me.
Sounds like you're saying that enablement, really, like
Yeah.
leaders being able to enable their people to
Yeah.
do their best work,
Yeah.
and to create the environments for them to really thrive and lean into
Yeah.
it. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, one thing we try and do is we try and get our team out of their comfort zones. Maybe build an escape room in our office. We'll do that. So you might have a new client, yeah, giving them the permission to think creatively, put them in different environments. Like one thing, we have multiple offices around Melbourne, and we do like these little work experience trips for our staff. So if you're in Oakley, you go to Altona for a week and you learn from them. And so just creating opportunities for your team to, step out, experience something new, and learning from other people. And then you as a leader, just giving your team permission to be creative, like what you said.
Yeah.
I love it. Sounds like there's a lot of consistency, a lot of through all of your answers. Okay, so the last one that I wanted to ask all of you, I guess, is we've talked about all of the ways that we can elevate customer and client experience today, but what are the tangible actions? What's a simple step that everybody in this room, come Monday or come tomorrow, whatever it is that they might want to do, what could they implement to elevate their brands? Bryan,
I'll cheat.
small, simple step.
I'll cheat and use the one I mentioned before. So yeah, go online, find an ethnographic observation canvas, and sit in your desk, sit in your client's office, sit in reception, and just work through the prompts. And help you understand like a very, I suppose, much more deeper self-awareness, curiosity of going into different spaces, but also maybe uncover some insights along the way and think about how you apply that to yourself, your team, your environment, and share that.
Maybe we'll grab that from you and pop it in the show notes. Robyn, what's one simple step that everybody in the room come Monday, or if we're only sort of halfway through the week here, that they could implement to start elevating their client experiences? One small step that you'd recommend?
Start with an espresso. Or two. And then, Bryan, you've stolen my thought. It's, be brave.
Yeah.
Be brave. That's the biggest thing that I feel that we all need to take forward. It's kind of about self-belief. And it's just like having the guts to just go, I'm going to do something that's out of my comfort zone. It might be a conversation with a colleague or a client, depending on what you want to influence, whether it's your culture or whether it's your client's culture. It's about doing something that you've been too scared to do, and you're just going to take it on. And every time you do that, you get better at it. And so I think that's mine. It's about bravery and difference, guts, audacity, and just finding some energy, whether it is through coffee or whether it's through having conversations that incite different thinking. And never, ever, ever think that you're going to do that sitting at a desk looking at a screen, because it will never, ever happen. The best ideas you'll have are when you're walking or you're jogging or you're moving.
In the shower.
You're in the shower. There was a great experiment, and I can't remember who did it now, but they did an experiment across thousands of people and said, where do you have your best ideas? You can all ask yourselves this, where do you have your best ideas? And it'll always be when you're physically engaged in doing something, because your left and right brain are activated. So the fact that we ask our people to sit in front of desks and try and solve great problems and create great things is rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. Let your team go out, walk if they have. Oh, the other thing is, when you're in workplaces, people are sitting there and you might see someone gazing out to the distance. Productivity sometimes is measured by the look of action. And in our environments, the ability in a workplace to be able to see the horizon is a major factor in people's mindfulness. And every design that I've ever done in a workplace always seeks to give equitable access to being able to see the horizon, because people feel safe or seeing the distance. And if cultures don't enable people to have that, then they've got trouble on their hands. But I'm just saying that because it's it's all about the physicality and the mentalness, you know, of what we're doing and how we're.
I think we can all resonate with what you're saying, right? And there'll be everybody in this room, I guarantee, when you said be brave and audacious on that one big idea, I'm going to guarantee everybody in here has thought of that one thing, the one thing you've been hesitating on, the one thing you want to move on, but you're not sure. You've got the permission from Robyn today. Even voice it, talk about it, explore it with someone else in your workplace. Just that small first move, that first step, and you never know where that's going to take you. And perhaps it's getting your team outside, doing something physical, doing some workshops, brainstorming, something that's a bit left of centre. You never know what's going to come from that. And Kial, what's your one recommendation, one action that people can take come Monday?
Yeah, well, I think no matter if you're the CEO or any position in the company, if you're in a leadership position, a managerial position, then you have influence, and your actions are setting the culture within that organization. And if customer experience is important to you, even though you have to be obsessed with it. Even if your upper leadership aren't obsessed with it, you have to be obsessed with it, because you can actually make change at whatever level of the organization you're at. And so just be obsessed with delivering great results.
I absolutely love that. An incredible session. Thank you so much to our wonderful panel. I read a really interesting quote, which I thought would be a lovely way to wrap this up. And it goes like this: the opportunity in client and customer experience is to stop thinking of it as something that happens after the work is done. It is the work. Every touch point either builds trust, creates ease, and reinforces value, or quietly erodes it. The choice is ours. Please thank our wonderful panelists for a great session.
Thank you.
What an inspiring conversation with Robyn, Bryan and Kial today on elevating customer experience. We encourage you to take today's insights back to your teams to listen, learn and lead with more intention. Don't forget, you can explore the other conversations in our Lessons from Leaders series, all brewed with Nespresso Professional. Until next time, I'm your host, Yasmin London. Take good care.